lot of experience in driving innovation in industries across the board. You've been at the forefront of hyperautomation. I think you have been already for quite some years in this industry, and you have successfully implemented solutions in various organizations. So I think your insights today will be very valuable for everybody in this webinar. So let's have a quick look what we're going to discuss today. So we will start by understanding why RPA is trending currently, and also the potential of RPA to revolutionize the way how we work. So we look at the advantages of RPA in different industries, industries like manufacturing, banking, finance, and we will also be looking at cost reductions and implementation through RPA. And I think it's really cool, Danura, that you are going to show us different use cases and how to also integrate RPA with AI. So I'm really looking forward to this webinar and to your presentation. To everybody in this webinar, I would like to encourage you to participate by asking questions. You can ask questions in the chat. So let's make this session as interactive as possible. But I will check what questions we have in the chat, and we'll pass them on at the end of Danura's presentation. So right now, I would like to give the floor to you, Danura, and thanks all for joining.
Thank you, Stephanie. So let me share my screen. Okay, hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. So today, actually, we are going to talk about the cost reduction with hyperautomation. So before that, I will give a small introduction about myself. I am Danura, and I am Associate Director for Automation, and currently I have 17 plus years experience in the industry. So, okay, so we are talking about hyperautomation. Now, previously we were talking about robotic process automation, but hyperautomation is combination of robotic process automation and artificial intelligence and the machine learning and some cognitive services. The reason we want to go for that combination is nowadays, you know that we have to work with some of the unstructured and semi-structured data, not like structured data, because when we are working with structured data, we can easily work with structured data, but when it comes to the unstructured and the semi-structured data, definitely we need to get support from other supportive technologies. That's why we need to go for hyperautomation rather than robotic process automation. But this is the same topic. We are getting some of the support from the supportive technologies. In terms of the hyperautomation trending, right? Why hyperautomation is trending? Now I am looking at developer perspective, not the business perspective, but the developer perspective. Even we can see this is a game changer for business across industries. You know that industries are playing a game to get the benefit out of basically some of the technologies, and also we need to get competitive advantage, and also we need to deduct the cost even, and sometimes maximize the profit. Without doing any kind of infrastructure change, this hyperautomation technology is required to implement some solutions, because this is very simple and very easy to implement. You know, after sometimes we can see nearly 2 months time we can get the implementation done for average process. Then you see the ROI, we call return on investment. That's why it's game changer technology. And the reducing human error and the staffing cost. When the software robots are working, you know that the bots are working in a manner that we have configured it. But when the human is working for a software, or maybe working in a process, sometimes based on the mentality and sometimes based on the condition of that person, he or she might do some errors. But software robots, they don't do like errors. they do what we have configured and what we have instructed to do. That's why we can reduce the human error and also staffing cost. Cost of the robots are actually less than the actual human being, right? That's why we are talking about this topic. And also the effective automation. Effective in the sense, now when we implement kind of a robotic process automation implementation, we see the results from the first day itself. And after a few months' time, you get the ROI, return on your investment, and you see how effective it is. And quick implementation. As I previously mentioned, within maybe 2 months' time, we can complete average process for RPA. So most of the organizations, they start working with RPA, and after 2 months or 2.5 months time, they will see the results. Right? That's why it's with quick implementation. And also the scalability. Think about a situation where you are working with 100 files today, but you are gradually growing your business, and after 2 or 3 months time, you will get more than 100, maybe 1,000 files. Then what will happen? Now, if we need to increase the volume, right? The processing power, everything. But that scalability is there with the RPA implementation, hyperautomation implementation. The reason is it's just a matter of introducing new software robots into the process, because the way we have normally create the architecture is in this hyperautomation technology, we can scale up with very easily with introducing new robots. That's why scalability is there. And integration with machine learning and AI technologies. I will talk about this later also, but you know that integration is there, and all of the RPA tools, they do have that integration capability. That's why it's very important. And the growing demand for managed RPA. These days managed services also, they have some repetitive things to be done. Sometimes, let's say, for example, you are supposed to reset your password. Then for managed services, you will be sending an email to your managed service team saying, okay, I need to get my password reset. But those are repetitive things, right? And also there are some things that you need to get access into multiple systems, grant access, revoke access, kind of things to be done. In that scenario, software robots can do all of the things because those are repetitive things and rule-based. If you have configured in a manner, then they can go into that level and they can do that. That's why the managed services side, this trend is there to implement RPA solutions. And the final one is the low-code, no-code RPA tool. Most of the RPA tools, actually, they have low-code, no-code power. They are talking about the citizen developer, because the reason is, even though without having much knowledge on the programming languages and the development knowledge, some of the people who have that IT knowledge, they can do some of the implementation, right? That's why it's called low-code, no-code. It's just a drag and drop the tool, and you can just configure it, and you can see how it's working. That's why we are talking about those topics, because hyperautomation is trending because of some of these capabilities associated with this technology. Okay, now we'll see what are the advantages of this hyperautomation technology. I have selected two areas, manufacturing side and the banking and financial side, right? Because most of the time we see some of the manufacturing, if you take the manufacturing side, there are some advantage that like cost reduction, right? Definitely we need to reduce the cost and the enhance efficiency. We need to increase the efficiency and quality wise also. Those are some of the key points we are talking about in the manufacturing industry to get the benefit out of this technology. Inventory management, we can automate it using RPA technology, hyperautomation technology. Then automatically it will we can place new orders, or we can basically work on some of the inventory management systems integration. Everything will be there. And data analysis. Sometimes when people are working, we don't gather data. But when the bots are working, the data will be there, and to get some management decisions, data is pretty much required, because once we get the accurate data only, we can get some decisions based on the data. Sometimes we have seen we are working with the systems, but we don't capture anything. But bots are not like that. We can capture whatever the things done by bot, and also we know that we have the required data to be analyzed and get some management decisions. And the scalability for manufacturing side driven, that scalability is there, and it's very pretty much get the advantage of scalability when we grow our business. When we talk about the banking and finance side, operational efficiency should be there, because most of the time for the bank and finance side, we need to increase our operational efficiency and the cost saving. Sometimes there might be some additional cost involvement with a human being working, and to overtime cost, maybe some weekend banking or kind of thing, then there might be some additional cost involvement, but we can get that advantage when we implement the hyperautomation solutions. And the other important thing is fraud detection. That's also pretty much important, because this frauds can be happen in this area, in the banking and financial area, and if you can detect it in advance, and if we can take some action, then that will be added benefit for the company. And the customer service. Customer service also side, we see there are some new technological involvement, like chatbots, right? So cognitive chatbots, maybe digital chatbots. So those chatbots can be implemented for customer service side, and also along with RPA and hyperautomation technology. And long processing, reconciliation kind of things, those are actually predefined rule-based jobs where we can easily get implemented, and those are pretty much candidate process for robotic process automation. Okay, now we'll think what are the disadvantages if we don't implement this kind of hyperautomation solutions, right? You know, in manufacturing side, if there's any manual error, there might be additional cost involvement. For example, let's say we are doing kind of a production line, a human error, due to human error, they need to stop the product line, and also they need to correct it, and to do that, there might be some additional cost involvement. And the operational inefficiencies, because when people are working, they take leaves and they have to have some breaks, but when bots are working, they don't do like that, right? And there might be some higher labor cost involvement due to some seasonal factors. Sometimes maybe during weekends, we have to pay additional amount for the human, right? But not for the software robots. And the reduced employee morale. Sometimes we have seen people are working on repetitive things, and they are not happy with what they are doing, because they would like to see an assistant for them, right? We are not talking about replacing human with software robots. We can't do that, because most of the companies and the industry even, what we can do is we can have kind of an assistant for the employee. Then we can assign some of the routine things for the employee, routine things for the software robots, and some of the things we need to use our brain power to the employee, because employees can take some decisions based on their experience, right? That's why it's pretty much important to use our brain power into the organization to increase the productivity and whatever the other sales activities. And also quality wise, when bots are working, the quality is there we can see the same quality will be applied for each and every time, not like humans. That's what also is much important. Okay, now we'll see what is the difference between the automation and normal RPA automation and hyperautomation. In the Gartner, it says we are starting from the simple automation, and also it will go for the hyperautomation, but in between we can see there might be some additional things added into the automation, like task automation, the process automation, the business operations, right? And also some conversational UX. For example, let's say we start from simple automation, but sometimes we have to add some AI capability and the machine learning capability, some advanced algorithms, right? And also intelligent business process management systems, right? Those are some of the things we add into the automation, then it will become the hyperautomation. That's the Gardner's actual definition. And when we think about this, the right-hand side circle, the inner circle is for the RPA, robotic process automation. There are some tasks and activities like logging into applications. We using UI mimicking or maybe some other additional technologies, and copy paste, filling forms, scrape data from the web. Those are the activities we can do with RPA. But previously also I mentioned, we have to work with some of the semi-structured and unstructured data, right? So in order to work with those data, we need to have some additional technological support. That's like, for example, let's say we are working with a bank. The bank should have a chatbot. For chatbot, we can work with RPA technology, but there might be some additional capabilities. For example, let's say now chatbot will have the NLP, natural language processing power, and also understanding the documents. We need to have AI capability. We will talk about this later also. I have some nice video clips also about this AI capabilities, right? Also, we'll talk about the process mining and the task mining and the speech to text kind of technologies. Those are the additional technological things we added into the RPA, and finally it will go to the hyperautomation. That's why we call it hyperautomation. Nowadays, most of the solutions we should go for hyperautomation rather than going for pure RPA. But this is RPA, but get the support of the other additional technologies. Okay, before moving to the next slide, I would like to show you some statistics, how we can get the benefit out of RPA, right? And in the different industries like financial services, telecommunication, healthcare, energy, utilities, manufacturing, consumer products. Those are some of the areas, and from those global survey, we have identified nearly in productivity, how much of productivity we can increase. Nearly 19% for financial service, right? And also telecommunication, 19%. Healthcare, up to 22%. Those are some of the statistics I just want to show you, because that's how we need to get the advantage of the technology. For the quality-wise also, nearly 11% for financial services and 21% for telecommunication, 16% for healthcare, right? Manufacturing, 18%. Those are some of the key factors that we need to consider when we are going for the automation. But this is a global survey, and this is applicable, average applicable for any country even. And also we see most of the industry, nearly this percentage can be achieved through the automation. That's why it's pretty much important to understand the statistics and from this global surveys too before we apply RPA or hyperautomation technology into our organization. And why we need to study and or sometimes implement hyperautomation solutions. First of all, we need to see what are the potential market areas, right? So here also I have another statistics we have done. This is done for US market, and they are talking about the 64% of the time at all they are talking about the data, collect data, and 69% is process data, right? You see the percentage. So most of the jobs they have to do collect data, process data. Those are the things, actually those are candidate processes for hyperautomation, right? Because of that, we can see most of the time those are pretty much, we have that potential market area, because in the wages wise even it's like billion, right? 1,000 billion, 900 billion. Those are some of the wages wise also we have to spend that much of amount to do this kind of data collection and the data process. Those power will be there with the hyperautomation technology. Then you see how much of wages or cost can be reduced to the automation. Just wanted to see this statistic to see what are the potential area for the hyperautomation implementation. Okay. Now we'll talk about the cost benefits to automation. how we can get the cost benefit to the automation, right? Let's say for organization, we are not talking about the cost that we can't control. For example, for manufacturing side, raw material cost or maybe transportation cost, we can't control. The reason is this cannot be controlled through software, right? But here what we are talking about is how we can control some of the operational cost and the rework cost due to human errors and the labor cost. Those are the costs we can control through our software robots or maybe a piece of software. If you see the left-hand side, right, revenue is there, but revenue is get after the revenue. If you want to increase the profit, what we have to do is we have to reduce the cost. Now here we have three types of cost: operational cost, rework cost, and the labor cost. Those are the costs we need to reduce. If you reduce this cost only, we will be having the more profit, right? But revenue side will be predefined amount for the revenue, but in order to increase the cost, we increase the profit, we need to reduce the cost. That's why we need to have this support of this kind of hyperautomation technology. But again, there might be some additional cost benefit, indirect cost benefits. For example, let's say now we are working on an organization, but during a daytime or peak time, there might be a huge network traffic, right? But if you can implement a solution where we can do some kind of a task during after office hours or maybe during midnight, then we can reduce the network traffic. And also that will be additional cost benefit. And also the process optimization. Normally, when we are going to implement any kind of RPS or hyperautomation solution, we don't want to implement as it is, because we need to optimize some of the process. There might be some additional or some tasks, those are not value added, or maybe those are redundant, right? So after the optimization is applied only, we will be implemented for RPA solutions. That's why it's an additional benefit for the organization, and also the increased satisfaction. I told you previously also, people are working with some of the traditional things, but they are not much happy because they want to use their brain power and they need to add more value into the organization. That's why majority of the people are willing to do that kind of thing. Because of that, we can assign a software robot routine things, and we can utilize the human for the more business activities. Now we'll move into the right-hand side. Right-hand side, we can see another way. We can increase the revenue even. How we can increase the revenue? I previously told you, there might be some repetitive things that we can assign into software robot, and we can get the human brain power into more strategic business engagement and more sales activities. That will increase the revenue side also. That means using this kind of automation, hyperautomation solutions, we can minimize the cost, and also we can increase the profit, and also utilizing the human in a very effective way, we can increase the revenue even. And there might be some additional like efficiency gain and human error reduction, and the faster than human, and the bots are 24/7. When people are working in an organization, we nearly work for 8 or 9 hours, but bot can work 24 hours, right? That means 3 times than human, right? And also maybe constantly it will work without taking any break or tea break or any lunch break kind of breaks, right? Because of that, the efficiency and the productivity might be higher than the human. That's why we need to go for this kind of hyperautomation solution for our organization in order to get the cost benefit through the automation. Now we'll see what kind of efficiency gain we have done. We'll do some kind of we have done a case study and also a work study to understand how much of time we are spending for manual works in this scenario. In this case, actually, we are getting average monthly volume of 2,400 purchase orders for our organization. In that scenario, assume that you have spent nearly 30 seconds. That means 0.5 minutes for this, go to Outlook, download the purchase order and save it. It will take nearly 30 seconds, right? But think about the time you have spent for entire 2,400 volume, nearly 1,200 minutes, right? That's what you have spent for that particular task. And if you go to the other task, open the purchase order, reading and gathering all the details, it will take 2.5 minutes, right? See, 6,000 minutes for that volume, right? Similarly, logging into your ERP system, then entering the header details and entering the purchase of the line details. When we calculate the number of time minutes you are spending on each task, and when we calculate the entire total number of minutes you are spending, nearly 18,000, right? 18,600 minutes you are spending. But after the implementation also, we calculated the same thing. But after the implementation, we can't say we eliminated the entire human interaction, because the processes are not fully streamlined. There might be some exceptions. We need to handle those exceptions, because sometimes if the process is not fully aligned or maybe fully optimized, there might be some human activities human needs to involve into that process. That's why after the implementation, even we need to spend some time, right? That's what we have calculated in this slide, in the bottom part of the slide. But finally, what we achieved here is the effort saving nearly 82%, right? 82% effort saving is there, because after the implementation, only 17% of the human interaction is there. But majority was implemented with a fully kind of automation. But if you are going for the fully automation, that's also possible. But in order to go for that level, we need to streamline, and we need to kind of re-evaluate and revisit our processes, and we need to apply some additional thing in order to go for the fully automation. But without going for that even, we can take nearly up to 80% of the cost effort saving from our automation. This is actually actual scenario. We have done this, and we have seen this kind of output from the automation. Okay, now we'll talk about the capabilities of the automation technology. Those are not the only capability, but those are the major capabilities of this RPA technology, right? We'll talk about one by one. First, we'll talk about this OCR technology. Optical character recognition, OCR means. Why we need that technology? Because now we have to work with PDF document. PDF document, we need to read that document. There might be two types of PDF document. One is we have to we can scan the image and create the PDF document. Other is we can, from the Word or maybe other text document, we can create the PDF document. But in order to read that and understand that document, we need to convert that PDF document into machine readable text format, right? It's pretty much important. But to do that thing, we need to have this OCR technology. OCR technology will convert whatever the things on the PDF document into the text format, where we can integrate with any other system. That's what we used to have with this OCR technology. Then AI technology. AI technology is required when we are going to process different type of invoices, maybe different type of document. We need to understand that document. Reason is, if a human is working with the technology, the documents, then we need to see, okay, this document is type, this is a separate type, and also we need to see the document and understand what type of document is this. Same thing can be done with the AI technology. AI technology, when we train the machine learning model with sample documents, then the machine and the computer will understand the document correctly. That's why we need to have this AI technology. We'll see how it's working, right? And also, we'll talk about this screen mimicking. Screen mimicking also a pretty much used technology with the RPA technology. The reason is, most of the time, since we are not going to do any infrastructure changes, as if a human is logging into the system, similar way the bot will be doing. To do that, we need to have this screen mimicking technology. Whatever the demo videos I'm going to show you, everything will be having this screen mimicking technology also. But you have to make sure that we are correctly implement with the screen mimicking technology, because this is there's a tricky part in this screen mimicking, because sometimes we have seen the screen mimicking technology, we don't get some of the things correctly if we are not going to have the design correctly. That's also pretty much important. And the other thing is the API integration. For the legacy system, even if you do have the APIs for third-party systems, using the hyperautomation technology, they do have that capability to integrate with API. And we are talking about the workflow. That's also is important, because in our solution, there might be some additional steps involvement that, for let's say, for example, a banking solution. First level officer will take the information from the client and it will pass into the next level. For the next level, a manager should check the whatever the information, and he or she should approve it, right? That kind of a scenario we are required to implement with a workflow solution. Otherwise, there's no way to approve it, right? But manager should get the notification, okay, there are 5 pending things that you should see and approve it. In that scenario, the workflow is required. That's why we need to have that workflow into the hyperautomation solutions. And the web scraping, that's also pretty much important, because think about the scenario where you are a product company, you have developed a product, and you need to understand what people are talking about my product. Web scraping technology is required. We need to understand what people are talking about my product in different websites and maybe different forums, right? So we can assign a software robot where a software robot can log in into multiple websites, right? Go to different websites and see what people are talking about. It will scrape whatever the things on the website and get into one location and analyze it and see how much of time they are talking about the good things and the bad things about my product. Based on that, we can improve the quality of our product, right? That's why we need to have this web scraping technology. That capability is there with all the RPA tools. And we'll talk about this NLP also, natural language processing. This is important for the chatbot kind of implementation. The reason is this natural language processing. Now, when I am having a chat with a chatbot, the way I am asking the question is different from the way another person is asking. But in order to get the correct answer, the chatbot should understand the question correctly. The chatbot might be referring a knowledge base, but for the knowledge base to get the correct knowledge based answer, the chatbot should understand what he is asking or what she is asking. Let's say I need to get a loan, housing loan. The way I am asking the required document for that housing loan is different from another person. But using the natural language processing technology, the bot can understand the questions correctly. Based on that, it can respond back with the knowledge-based document. And the final one is the process mining. For an RPA developer or maybe a RPA solution architect kind of person, it's pretty much used to have this kind of process mining technique, because this process mining is something that we can understand the process end to end. How much of time you are spending on each task of that process. Process might be having 100 tasks, but for 100 tasks, we can identify this much of time we are spending on this particular task and this much of time for other tasks similarly. Then we know what are the bottlenecks, right? Then we know where we need to apply the RPA or hyperautomation technology. That's why it's pretty much important. Most of the tools that now we have that capability, and also it will capture each and every step of the process, and each and every step how much time you have spent on. Based on that, it will show you, okay, in this entire process you have spent this much of time for this particular task and candidate task for the RPA implementation. That's why we need to have this process mining technology. I have covered some of the areas here because the reason is we need to have each and every technology involvement for our solution implementation. Because most of the time we have to use at least 3 or 4 technological capabilities to have a solution. Okay, now we'll see how the machine learning is working. In this scenario, we are talking about a sample invoice, right? From that invoice, we are going to train the model saying, okay, if you see this kind of invoice, you take the company name from this particular location and the invoice number from this location and the invoice amount, maybe description from this location, total amount. So you need to train the model. Once you train the model in a similar way, the next invoice onwards, the bot will understand, okay, this is the place I should take the company name. Maybe this is the place I should take the invoice number. And most of the tools, RPA tools, have now a pre-trained model. The reason I'm telling is pre-trained is when we take this kind of invoice, those invoices have common things because most of the invoices, there might be company name, the invoice number, invoice date, maybe description and total amount, right? Those are common things. And there might be different types of invoices, but they have already trained this model. That's why it's called pre-trained model, right? But if we don't get our invoice correctly identified by bot, what we can do is we can get 5 samples and we can train the model in a similar way. Once we train the model, the next invoice onwards, bot will identify the data correctly. But we need to understand this machine learning model with the data accuracy only. We need to get the correct accuracy, because if the data is not accurate, then output also will not correctly identify. What we need to do is we need to get the clear and correct samples to train the model. That's pretty much important. Once the model is trained, then we'll see how the OCR is working. Using the OCR technology, now everything will be identified and captured and convert into the machine readable format. That's the text format. Now, in this API responses, we can see from this PDF document, using the AI technology, we will identify the correct location. Then using the OCR technology, it will convert into the machine readable text format. This is how normally OCR and the AI is working on a solution. Okay, now it's time for us to talk about few sample use cases, because this is actually I'm going to talk about the actual implementation, and we have implemented those solutions, and we'll talk about those solutions first, right? First thing is the credit card, debit card disable process. In this scenario, before we move into the actual, I am going to show you actual demo videos. But before that, I will explain the process first, right? For the debit card and credit card disable process, what will happen is, now when you lose your debit card, what you have to do is you have to call your bank's call center, right? You have to hang on the line for nearly 15 to 20 minutes time. But if you get a chance that you can send the message to a dedicated mobile number, and the bot can read that message. In this scenario, when you send the SMS message, bot will receive the SMS message and bot will read the message. And you send your national identity card number. Based on the national identity card number, bot will identify your details. And also, it will identify your mobile number. From your mobile number, it will check whether this is the correct registered mobile number for this particular identity card number. If it is yes, then the bot will fetch some of the other details from the backend system. Then it will log into AS400 like system, but it's a legacy system, but it will log into that system and disable your debit card. And you will get the notification back saying successfully disabled. In this process, actually, because of the volume, it's pretty much now, after the implementation, nearly 20 to 30 seconds, you can get the result out. Now we'll see how it's working. Now I'm going to play that video. Now here, we are sending the message to the bot's number saying lost and my national identity card number. Now bot will log into the AS400 system and it will fetch the information, debit card number, then log into that system and deactivate it. Once the deactivation is completed, you will get back the message saying successfully deactivated. This is the actual scenario and the actual implementation is a legacy system. But that capability is there. Screen mimicking technology also there. And also we have some other API capabilities are also integrated with this solution. Now we'll move into the next one. That is the user access management. That's also a very good use case because user access management for a bank, think about a scenario where you have a new user coming into your bank, you need to grant access for nearly 10 different applications. Rather than human is doing the same, we can assign a software robot, but it will identify from the predefined metrics, what are the, for this level of employee, you need to grant access for this set of applications. And you need to revoke access from this particular application. Everything will be defined in the metrics, and from using that metrics, the bot will log into those systems and do the whatever the access granting or access revoking. This diagram shows you how it's happening, right? For a small example, this manager will raise the ticket, then the bot will go to the system and it will do whatever the role access granting and then send back the email message. In this scenario, it's a banking system. Bot is logging into the backend of the system, and based on the request, it will go to the next level and see how it's going to change the details on that particular system to grant or revoke access. This is another actual implementation which we have done to show do this kind of implementation. So only thing is you need to correctly identify whatever the access level, and we have to have a predefined access metrics in order to get the correct access into the system. Okay, we'll now talk about the sales order creation process. That's also, we have a very good implemented solution. We have a very good solution, and I am going to show you how we are going to create the sales order in the production environment, and also based on the request, it will log into their ERP system and create orders on that particular ERP system where it can be fully automated when you send the email request to the software robots. Now we'll see how it's happening. What you see here is a different ERP system. The bot has logged into the ERP system, and whatever the information fetched from the email attachment, bot will extract the details and then it will log into system and enter those details. You see, this new style inquiry delivery, and everything will be captured correctly and go to the system, and whatever the things will apply onto the system, and it will create the sales order on the ERP system. You see how fast it is, right? Okay, so those are the capabilities of the hyperautomation technology. So I covered most of the things here, but there are time constraints here, and also if you have any questions, you can ask now from this presentation.
Thank you very much, Danura. I think, well, first of all, it's really interesting to see what the benefits are of using RPA, right, and what the current trends are, but also these examples of hyperautomation. That's I think it's amazing what it can offer to organizations. I would like to invite all of you to ask your questions in the chat. You can always or also speak up by unmuting and ask your question to Danura. But Danura, let me kick off with a question. When it comes to organizations that are interested in implementing RPA or hyperautomation, when do they know when they are ready, or what are requirements for organizations to be ready to start implementing this?
Okay. First of all, actually, we need to identify the correct process, right? There might be some processes, those are not required. Sometimes we have identified some of the processes, those are not RPA candidate processes, right? Because sometimes if we try to apply the RPA even for those processes, it's pretty much not getting much value for the organization. Because of that, first of all, we need to identify the correct candidate processes. If you see a routine and the maybe volume-based processes, then those might be correctly identified. Then only we have to apply it. Another thing is we have to optimize the process before we apply the RPA. Sometimes when we optimize the processes, those are not required to go for RPA implementation, right? The process optimization will be there, but after that we have to stop that from that location onwards, because then only we identify the process is fully optimized now, is not much required to RPA. But for the RPA implementation, we need to see the correct processes and identify it correctly in the initial stage.
All right, I understand. And are there also certain risks or challenges when it comes to implementation?
Yes, there are some challenges, because sometimes people will still think that, okay, if they are going to implement RPA or hyperautomation solutions, will I lose my job? Then they don't actually reveal actual things. They will say, okay, this is how. When we ask them, okay, how you are doing this process, then they won't tell it, right? Because they will see that they will lose their job. Because of that, it's better if you can have kind of a champion from the organization itself. Then he will identify what are the required processes. He will also educate the people. Now, you are not going to lose your job. You will get an assistance for you for this kind of implementation. Because of that, those kind of challenges are there in the organization. We need to have kind of a champion. We need to appoint a champion to take that part and separately and educate the actual employees and start the implementation.
Yeah, all right. I can imagine that there's also people in this webinar who are RPA developers themselves. Do you have any advice for them to stay up to date with certain trends? And also, I think the examples that you showed with AI, for example, what is your advice for RPA developers to make sure that they are at the forefront of all the developments in this industry?
Sorry, Stephanie, can you repeat it?
Yes, of course. What is your advice for RPA developers? There might be some in this webinar to stay at the forefront of all the innovations happening in this industry.
Okay, so basically now we were talking about the RPA in the sometimes back. Nowadays we are talking about the hyperautomation, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know that using those technology, you need to get familiar with those technology. Otherwise, if you don't know what are the capabilities of hyperautomation, when you see a problem, you won't apply the actual solution, right? Because of that, you need to get used with some of the latest technology, and even there might be another technology coming in the next month. In that case also, you need to get familiar with this technology. Then only you know this kind of solution can be applied, or for this problem, those are some of the best solution we can apply. Because of that, what I am telling you is to do some researches, do some actual implementation, and also get the advice from the expertise and see what kind of technology and what kind of things can be applied for RPA solution. Then that might be a very good solution if you're going to apply everything into one solution.
Okay, all right. I see no questions in the chat at this point. So, Danura, I would like to thank you very much for your very valuable presentation and all these insights on RPA and but basically hyperautomation, right? I think this was a really good introduction in this topic and all the trends that are currently happening in this industry. So thank you very much. I would like to thank all people that attended this webinar as well. We will follow up with the key insights of this webinar and also our contact details. Danura, is it okay if people would like to know more about this topic that they can reach out to you?
Yes, sure. Yes.
All right. And of course, with Capstars, we have a great team of RPA developers who can help with implementation of RPA. So feel free to reach out to us too in case you're interested to explore what we can do for you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, and hope to see you all at the second edition of the RPA Archives.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye, Danura. Bye all.
Bye.